The sun peeked over the big green hills of Africa, painting the sky with soft colors of pink and orange. Long golden rays of light stretched across the wide grassy plains, waking up the world. A gentle breeze whispered through the tall acacia trees, making their leaves dance. Tiny dewdrops on spiderwebs sparkled like little diamonds in the morning light. The whole savannah seemed to glow with a warm, happy feeling. It was a brand new day, full of sunshine and sleepy sounds. The air was fresh and cool, carrying the sweet smell of damp earth and blooming flowers. Two little lion cubs, Kairo and his sister Luma, were curled up together under a big shady bush. They had fluffy, sandy-colored fur and big, curious eyes. Kairo stretched out a tiny paw and yawned a big, sleepy yawn. He wiggled his nose, smelling the morning air. He expected to feel the warm, soft fur of his mother beside him, but she wasn't there. He blinked his eyes open, looking around. The cozy spot where their whole family, the pride, had slept was now empty. It was just him and Luma, all alone in the quiet morning. Luma woke up next, nudged by her brother's gentle push. She sat up and looked around, her small ears twitching at every little sound. "Kairo, where is Mama?" she whispered, her voice small and wobbly. She looked at the empty space where their father, with his big, magnificent mane, usually rested. The other lionesses and their playful cousins were gone too. A feeling of worry started to bubble inside her tummy. The big, beautiful morning didn't feel so friendly anymore. It felt a little too big and a little too quiet. Kairo tried to be brave for his sister. He puffed out his little chest, trying to look bigger than he felt. "Maybe they went to the waterhole for a drink," he said, trying to sound sure of himself. "They will be back soon." But as he looked out at the endless grassland stretching far, far away, a shiver of fear ran down his spine. The world seemed so vast, and they were so very small. He missed the comforting rumble of his mother's purr and the feeling of being safe, surrounded by his big, strong family. Kairo stood up on his wobbly legs and took a deep breath. "We have to find them," he declared, trying to keep his voice from shaking. Luma nodded, her big, round eyes fixed on her brother. She trusted him. Together, they were a team. They crept out from under the safety of their bush and stepped into the open grassland. The grass was so tall it tickled their noses and brushed against their ears. Everything looked different without their mother leading the way. The familiar paths suddenly seemed strange and new, stretching out in all directions. They decided to follow a trail made by zebras, hoping it might lead them somewhere familiar. The sun was getting warmer now, making their fur feel toasty. A beautiful blue butterfly with shimmering wings fluttered past Luma's nose, and for a moment she forgot she was scared and tried to pounce on it. Kairo watched her, a small smile on his face. The world was full of amazing things, even when you were a little bit lost. He saw a long-necked giraffe munching on leaves high up in a tree, its head almost touching the clouds, but the beautiful world could also be a little scary. A big grey rock they passed suddenly moved, and they realized it was a grumpy rhinoceros sleeping in the sun. They tiptoed past it, holding their breath so they wouldn't wake it up. They saw a group of elephants with their babies splashing in a muddy puddle, making loud, trumpeting sounds. The sounds were so big and boomed across the plains. Kairo and Luma huddled close together, their little hearts beating fast. The savannah was so full of giants. They walked and walked until their little paws started to feel tired. The sun was high in the sky now, shining brightly down on them. Luma's tummy rumbled. "I'm hungry, Kairo," she whimpered, her bravery starting to melt away. Kairo licked her ear to comfort her, just like their mother did. "I know," he said softly. "We just have to keep going. We are brave lions, remember. We will find Mama. We just need to follow our noses and listen with our ears. She can't be too far away from us." As they ventured further, the sounds of the savannah grew louder and stranger. A loud cackle from high above made them jump. They looked up to see vultures circling in the bright blue sky. Kairo knew that vultures meant something was nearby, but he wasn't sure what. He pulled Luma closer into the tall grass, his ears flat against his head. A new feeling of urgency pushed them forward. They needed to find their pride before the day got any older. The world felt much bigger and more mysterious than it did from the safety of their mother's side. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from a thicket of bushes just ahead of them. It was a quick, scurrying noise. Kairo and Luma froze in their tracks, their bodies low to the ground. Was it a friend or a foe? A family of meerkats popped their heads up, chattering curiously at the two lost cubs before disappearing back into their burrow. Luma let out a little giggle of relief. The meerkats looked funny with their pointy noses and wide eyes. It was a small, happy moment in their big, worrying adventure. They continued on their journey, their senses on high alert. Kairo used his nose, trying to catch the familiar scent of his family on the breeze. He could smell the sweet grass, the dusty earth, and the distant waterhole, but not the comforting smell of his pride. Luma used her sharp ears, listening for the sound of her mother's call or the deep roar of her father. All she could hear was the chirping of crickets and the strange whooping of hyenas in the distance. The hyena calls made her fur stand on end. The path they were following led them to the edge of a small, rocky ridge. From up here they could see for miles and miles across the golden plains. The view was breathtakingly beautiful, with herds of wildebeest and zebra moving like slow rivers across the landscape. But it was also a little overwhelming. The world was so huge and their family was nowhere in sight. Doubt began to creep into Kairo's heart. What if they were going the wrong way? He looked at Luma, who was looking back at him, her eyes full of trust. He had to be strong for her. Just as Kairo was starting to feel hopeless, Luma's ears twitched and stood straight up. "Listen," she whispered, her eyes wide with excitement. Kairo stopped and held his breath, straining to hear what his sister had heard. At first, there was only the wind whistling past the rocks, but then, faint and far away, he heard it too. It was a low, rumbling sound, a sound he knew better than his own heartbeat. It was the sound of a lioness calling for her lost cubs. It was their mother's voice, carrying on the wind just for them. A surge of joy and relief washed over them. "Mama!" they both cried out, their little voices full of happiness. They scrambled to the highest point of the rocky ridge and peered across the savannah in the direction of the call. And there they were. Not too far away, near a cluster of shady acacia trees, they could see them. The familiar golden shapes of their pride, resting in the afternoon heat. They could see their father's dark mane and their cousins tumbling and playing, and they could see their mother, standing tall and looking for them. With renewed energy, the two cubs bounded down the ridge, their tired paws forgotten. They ran as fast as their little legs could carry them, tumbling over each other in their haste. The tall grass whipped past them, but they didn't care. All they could see was their mother, waiting for them. She saw them coming and let out another, softer call, this one full of love and relief. She ran to meet them, her powerful legs closing the distance in just a few long strides. It felt like the longest and shortest run of their lives. Kairo and Luma crashed into their mother's soft, warm fur, purring and rubbing against her legs. She licked their faces and their dusty fur, her rough tongue cleaning them and comforting them all at once. The rest of the pride gathered around, nudging them gently with their noses. They were safe. They were home, curled up between their mother's paws, with the sun warming their backs and the sound of their family all around them. The two little cubs drifted off to sleep. Their first big adventure was over, and they knew there would be many more to